Hi, welcome back. This is new for all of us. We're learning remotely and teaching remotely, so patience, perseverance, and compassion for ourselves and others is the rule of the day. If you haven't already, please review the amended syllabus and schedule posted on Moodle. And keep in communication with me if you have any challenges with this course, accessing materials, etc. This video PowerPoint covers the topic for this week. So this is my very first teaching lecture on a PowerPoint with narration, so your patience is appreciated. This video is about 10 minutes long, and after you are done watching this, go to the guiding questions posted in Moodle. There will be questions that we will focus on, whether you choose to participate on the Moodle forum discussion and you will post your reply on the Moodle forum, or you'll be prepared for our virtual class on Thursday, this Thursday, April 2nd from 12:30 to 1:15 on the Moodle Big Blue button. Let's see. A heads up, I'll be posting an open book 5-question quiz on the material that we covered before we left for break. That will be quiz 2. This will give you an idea of the short quizzes you'll be having moving forward. Any questions so far? Make sure to contact me. Our topic this week are 2 emotions of stress, anger and fear. But let's first define emotion. Merriam-Webster defines emotion as a state of feeling. How are you feeling right now? What is the first state of feeling that pops into your head? We do share universal emotions. Paul Ekman is a psychologist who first studied emotion and facial expressions in the 1960s. His work identified that there are common universal emotions expressed through facial expressions. When we talk about emotions, we kind of have to tie in the concept of moods and kind of what's the similarities and differences. So first, let me ask you, what mood are you in today? Mood suggests a longer lasting emotion, attitude, state of being. If I'm in a good mood, emotions tied to this mood may be very easily expressed or felt. Our mood may taint our emotion. If I'm in a foul mood, it can be difficult for me to feel joy and maybe easier for me to feel disgust. Let's go back to anger and fear. The general physiology we know well. They are the primary emotions of the stress response, fight, flight. We know that these responses are part of that physiological response, and we can elicit these emotions just by thinking them about things, can't we? So excessive worry, anger, grudges prolong the stress response, and we know there are effects on our immune system and cardiovascular system. We know that we can increase cortisol levels with the stress response and increase pro-inflammatory cytokines. Fear may be associated with increasing those pro-inflammatory cytokines, and anger may be associated with more increased levels of cortisol. Remember, anger and fear are part of our survival mechanism. They are normal responses. They're normal emotions. Though we may tend to judge these emotions as bad or signs of weakness. Let's bring back the 9 attitudes of mindfulness, specifically non-judgment. In and of themselves, anger and fear ebb and flow as are other emotions, but we may develop a sense of attachment or judgment of these emotions and not let them fully process through. We have healthy and unhealthy ways to process both. And I bet you can guess that suppressing them, ignoring them are not healthy strategies. We'll look at these in a few minutes. So sometimes we associate some guilt with that. I shouldn't be feeling this way, and we shut that feeling down. So we want to make sure that we acknowledge those feelings, feel them for what they are, and then move on. We're going to revisit this under healthy management. Anger. Types of anger. We have ways that we express anger, and which of these do you see in yourself and which do you see in others? They include rage, like road rage, hostility. Hostility is negative thoughts and actions towards certain people or a group of people, and it is actually linked as a risk factor for cardiovascular disease. But did you consider impatience and envy as emotions of anger, as well as prejudice, guilt, indignation, and frustration? So frustration can be considered an expression of anger. So what happens? We have some unresolved anger. For an example, I'm sure you can think of one. Just can't let that anger go about a situation or person. We just haven't moved through it. Just thinking about it gets us angry, so what do? We stuff it. This suppression can result in us overreacting to a situation that normally would not make us angry. Can you think of something? So we use things like I'm in a slow burn, or that person just blew a gasket. So other ways we repress that anger and then we explode. Managing anger, there's a word that's used with anger management called catharsis, and that's really of expressing or releasing anger. And back in the 1970s, this is when catharsis was kind of developed with psychologists as a way to help release deep-held anger issues. It included releasing emotion through primal screaming, hitting a punching bag or something. This was thought to be a healthy way to manage anger, but some research found that these actions may contribute to feelings of more aggression, and possibly this could become the habitual way to respond rather than more healthy processing for closure. So some of the words that we hear up is that it was helpful because it would release this energy and an energetic fury. But like I said, there's some research that shows that might not be so. So healthy catharsis works towards resolve, towards closure, and we need to want to have that closure. Sometimes, and we'll talk about this in a minute, we like to hang on to our anger. I know some things, it's like, I know I should forgive, I know I should let it go, but it kind of, that adrenaline I get from feeling that anger, I kind of like that temporary feeling, but that's not good, because then that anger can control me. So working towards healthy ways of developing closure, and this can be super challenging. We know it intellectually, but actually doing it can be hard. So again, small steps. That anger, like I alluded to before, can make us feel empowered for a while, and then that anger ends up controlling us, right? It controls our time. We spend a lot of time thinking about it when we would want it and should be doing other things. And like I mentioned, we may like those immediate feelings of anger. Anger can be empowering, and that empowerment not only for survival to fight, but that rush of adrenaline can get us ready to do something. And I remember the anger that drove the creation of Mothers Against Drunk Driving when she lost a daughter to a drunk driver, and that started in the 1980s. That her anger, her rage empowered her to take action. But at some point, anger can begin to control us, control our mood, control our feelings, control how we see the world. So let's look at healthy catharsis. This could be keeping your anger focused. I already covered that. So some of these techniques are from the Brian and Luke Seward text, and all the resources are listed at the end of the PowerPoint, and you can find them online. But here are some ideas for healthy release and resolve. That when we're angry, we need to keep our anger directed at the provocation, not directed at a third party, not at a spouse or a friend or someone else. Keep it directed and focused. Otherwise, we start to over-exaggerate it. We want to develop a way that the anger restores a sense of self-control, but not revenge towards the other person. How we talk to someone to elicit a change is challenging. We want to make sure that we don't create defensiveness in the other person and put them on the spot and kind of manipulate that. We don't want to provide excuses for people, but understanding where that person is coming from may lead to insight, which that insight might lead to forgiveness. Be direct and use language that is clear and diplomatic. Using I statements instead of you diffuses some of that defensiveness as well. Be careful not to provoke retaliation in the other person. That you don't. We want to have some resolve to this, at least so that you can be heard by the other person. While we can't control how someone will respond, we can set the stage of respect and ownership, and they become pervasive. So that was pretty heavy to start back to, but also very appropriate as we may be dealing with feelings of anger and fear, and we may know somebody who might be depressed, or we might ourselves be, and to encourage to get help. We'll end today with the idea of joy. Remember, eustress. That's the beneficial stress. That's the stress that makes us feel challenged, fulfilled, and exhilarated. Well, joy is one emotion of eustress. Passive joy includes feelings of contentment in that current moment. Active joy is more that jubilant, exuberant joy. We'll explore joy and happiness next week when we explore resiliency and coping.